Hello, this is Shaun Whiteside, reading from Where We Belong, My Vanished Family by Maxim Leo. The Party. One warm September day, my brother got married in a stately home in Brandenburg. The whole family was invited, including the ones from Israel, England, France and Austria. Eventually the stately home was full of Leos, and in the evening, when the dancing began in the garden, when the cousins, the uncles and aunts whirled around to the sounds of a Russian guitar band, I thought how lovely it would be if there were always so many of us. The fact is, we're quite a small family here in Berlin. Apart from that, we like to argue and bear grudges, which is why we seldom come together all in one place. For me, family is 4 people sitting round a table. The many other Leos were always far away, scattered around the whole world. Sometimes they came to visit us, but they never stayed long enough to be real relatives. As a child, I envied people with big families. Everything seemed to me to be as warm and natural as a nest from which you couldn't fall out. My own family, on the other hand, struck me as fragile. My mother sometimes told me about the others, Nina and Hanan in Israel, Ilse, Heinz and Susie in Vienna, Andre in London, Hilda in Chicago. I asked why they all lived so far away. My mother said that our whole family had once lived in Berlin, but then the Nazis had come and driven out everyone who was Jewish or communist. I'd heard about communism. After all, we lived in the GDR. But what were Jews? My mother explained, and it sounded complicated. She said that Judaism was a religion, and while our family hadn't been religious, we'd been persecuted anyway. I learned that her father had had to leave Berlin as well, that he went to school in France and fought for the resistance against the Nazis when he was 16. Your grandfather came back to Berlin after the war to build up socialism. The others remained in the countries to which they had fled. That's why today we're the only ones who live here, my mother said. I remember being cross with my grandfather at the time. Why did he, of all people, have to build up socialism? I could have lived in London, Vienna or Paris, instead of Berlin, Lichtenberg. Although at the same time I thought it was quite cool to have so many relatives in so many countries. You can impress other people with that. Our family, driven around the world, gave us a certain worldly quality. I remember the visits from Ilse, who had the same gentle eyes as my grandfather, spoke a sleepy Viennese dialect, and brought me marzipan Mozartkugeln, which I rate highly even today. Andre from London traditionally brought us a family pack of after-eights and several tins of Twining's Earl Grey tea. He wore stained, crumpled trousers, had more hair in his ears than on his head, and told Jewish jokes, usually choking with laughter on the punchline. Once Andre also brought his mother, Hilda, who was said in the family to be a millionaire. It was a few days before Christmas when Hilda came to visit us, and I was very excited because I'd never seen a millionaire before. Of course, I was also hoping for a Christmas present. Hilda wore a threadbare coat with the left pocket torn off and a big woolen cap that was far too big for her. I was surprised because the millionaires that I knew from television looked different. Hilda hurried towards my brother and me, eyes gleaming. "I brought you a present," she exclaimed. Then Hilda took an orange out of her handbag, handed it to us with solemn gravity and with a stern admonition to share it fairly. I thought about all that when I saw my family dancing in the stately home in Brandenburg. Many years have passed. Ilse and Hilda have been dead for a long time, like my father and the socialism he helped to build up. Today, I myself can travel around the world and visit my family, but the closer I get to my people far away, the more I miss them here at home. I feel like the child of a divorce who always hopes that everybody might come together again one day. Thank you.